Get ready, because here's your host, Tyson Mutrix.
Welcome back to the Guild Live Show. I'm Tyson Mutrix, and today it's going to be a bit of a shorter show. So I'm going to try not to get too preachy at the end, so no promises with that one. But I do got an interesting one where we're going to be talking about a little bit about negotiations, ChatGPT usage. That was kind of an interesting thing that came out this week. And then an article about anti-ChatGPT, which I hate the name of this article. I also kind of hate talking about what I'm going to be talking about, but I'm going to be talking about it. It's because of the company that's involved. Top 50 mistakes. We'll go through some of those. I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. And then we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk at the end. So if you don't want to tune into the end, I completely understand, but I'm not going to get political. I promise I'm not going to be, it's not going to be a political rant, but I do like it's something I want to address. So I considered, just so you know, something I considered actually spending the entire episode, but I figured that's probably not why people tune in. And so I wanted to make sure I was respectful of that, but I do think I've got some things I want to say about it. And so I'm going to talk about it a little bit at the end, but let's get into the show. The first topic we're talking about is, it's an interesting article that I found on that it was about, not an article, it was a post, and it was about negotiation tactics. And I thought it was really kind of an interesting thing that I would share with you. So I'll put this on screen so you can see what it is. All right, so here's the post, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but they what they did is they looked at negotiators that were rated as effective by both sides, have a track record of success over a substantial period of time, have a low incidence of implementation failure. So those are who they chose. Okay, so in the preparation stage, results show that in comparison to the average negotiators, skilled negotiators, they considered about twice as many possible outcomes and options. So that was interesting. So about 5 compared to about 2.5 different options. I thought that was an interesting thing. They spent about 3 times as much time on anticipated areas of agreement. That's, to me, makes a lot of sense. You want to focus on those things that where are we aligned? I think that's a pretty smart thing. By the way, the reason why I think this is important, like, everything's a freaking negotiation. Whether you're doing family law or criminal defense, personal injury, estate planning, I mean, you might be negotiating with vendors about different fees on things. Like there's a lot of negotiations that go into running a business, and that's why I want to bring this up. So that's, if you're wondering why are we talking about negotiations, this is why. They considered about twice as many long-term issues, 8.5 versus 4. I'm not going to get all the numbers because it's not as important. Planned specific sequences. So negotiating issue A, then B, then C about half as often. So they planned specific sequences about half as often. That's interesting. So they didn't planned specific sequences less. That's interesting. Set ranges. So instead of a fixed point more often, that is interesting. I will say that is something we do when it comes to we go with a range. We're looking for a range is what we're trying to do. They spent a similar amount of time on preparation, suggesting that they planned not more often, but more efficiently. So spend a similar amount of time on preparation. So they were just more efficient with their time in preparation. I think it might say that, might suggest that. Also, you could say this, that preparation, not as important. That's another thing you might want to, another way of looking at it. But Jeremy Danielson, thanks for the kind message. Just got a kind message from Jeremy Danielson, so really appreciate it. So that's I think that could be another suggestion. You could say that's what that is. All right. Then we go down to when analyzing behaviors during face-to-face negotiations. Rackham that's the person who put together, found a continuing theme from the planning stage that skilled negotiators avoided creating disagreement and conflict. They did so by doing the following: use only about 1/5 as many irritator words. Those are words such as generous, offer, fair, reasonable. Fair is definitely something. That's what Chris Voss talks about. Don't use the word fair. So those kinds of words can irritate the other side. Make about half as many immediate counter proposals. So immediate counter proposals tend to be seen by the counterpart less as proposals than as attempts to block or oppose their proposals. Interesting thing, using verbal attacks or defenses only about 1/3 as often. I think that makes a whole lot of sense. Using behavior labeling areas of disagreement only about 1/3 as often. But so these are some of the things. I'm not going to go through this whole thing because you can see it's a pretty long post. But I thought that was an interesting thing. So some things to think about when you are negotiating. But let's get into the next topic today, and that is ChatGPT usage. This is an interesting one for sure because it's broken down. This is something that OpenAI released. Let me show you this. And this is from a Greg Eisenberg post, but this diagram that you're looking at has been all over the internet. So you've got, it's broken down into multimedia. So you got this other unknown area, practical guidance, seeking information, self-expression, technical help, writing. By far the two categories that are the biggest, as you can see, practical guidance, so creative ideation, health, fitness, beauty, or self-care, how-to advice, tutoring or teaching. Those, and of the practical guidance, tutoring or teaching was the highest. Not a surprise, writing, so argument or summary generation, edit or critique provided text, personal writing or communication, translation, or writing fiction. Writing fiction, we got 1.4%. Isn't that cute? And then you got the technical help, 7.5%, data analysis, mathematical calculation. If you were using it for mathematical calculation early on, you were getting a lot of bad numbers. Your data was probably terrible. It's pretty good now, but early on, not so good. Computer programming, I am surprised computer programming is so low. That's really surprising to me. Maybe it's just because of the general population. That's just a low percentage, but it is really helpful with us when it comes to things we're doing with coding and all that. Then you got the seeking information, looking for specific information. I don't know how they're categorizing this over other things because I could lump that easily into other things. Purchasable products, and then cooking and recipes. That's a little less than you'd think. I think cooking recipes a little bit more, and then you got this other or unknown, and then you got multimedia, 6%. So really, if you break it down, practical guidance, seeking information, and writing, that's where the bulk of everything is. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing that I would share with you all. So let's get into the next one. This is where it's. I just hate even bringing up this company. But there are some bold claims in this article that I wanted to bring up. So this is why I wanted to talk about it. All right, so this is an article from venturebeat.com. And in this one, the anti-ChatGPT Thomson Reuters multi-agent system slashes 20-hour tasks to 10 minutes. That is the claim that I was like, what? Not a huge fan of Thomson Reuters. Don't tell anybody. The anti-ChatGPT Thomson Reuters multi-agent. That's why it's like, why is this the anti-ChatGPT? That doesn't make any sense. It's not true. It's just something that they wanted to put in there to make the article sound fancy. You can ignore that part of it. The slashes 20-hour task to 10 minutes. That is what's interesting to me. Pretty dang bold claim. So what if the future of enterprise AI isn't about speed but depth? Yeah, this is Thomson Reuters Westlaw's bet. The company's deep research platform that was specifically designed to take its time, working an average of 10 minutes. Okay, this allows the multi-step research agent to plan, execute, and pull. And by the way, working an average of 10 minutes. If that's their bold claim as to how it's the anti-ChatGPT, you can do the deep research, and it takes a long time. I've had some that taken, I don't know, I'd say well over 10 minutes, but it's taken over 10 minutes to do the full analysis. So that's kind of a garbage claim, but this allows the multi-step research agent to plan, execute, and pull perplexities the same way, by the way, from a deep curated data set of more than 20 billion docs, up-to-date case law, blah, 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 blah. Unlike retrieval augmented generation systems, RAG, I've talked about RAG before in the show, deep research is designed to eliminate errors and hallucinations, providing, I mean, here's the thing. I just like, you can create a RAG system that builds this stuff in. So this is kind of what they're going to try to do is kind of sell you on this really expensive product that you could probably build yourself using their stuff. I can just say right now, you can probably build an AI agent that will go in and research in their systems, researching the billions of documents. No one's researching billions of documents. We all know that. You're researching a specific subset of the billions of documents is what you're doing. That's just fancy, article talk. It's not even that fancy. It's just article speak is what it is. But what you've got is you could build a system with RAG or without RAG. You can build it though that analyzes, goes and searches in their systems, and then takes the output. And then you have all these checks and balances. You can actually do that. We're doing that with a lot of other things inside the firm. So I think this is just a lot of bold claims they probably built out an AI, a team of AI agents basically. And then that thing is they're scaling that to be able to sell to everybody. That's what they're doing. And so if you want like a pre-made one, fine, great, go for it. It's probably really, really expensive. Multiple agents in the mix, a rich data set. Westlaw isn't wedded to one underlying model. The team has a multi-model strategy with different models chosen based on their effectiveness with different tasks. And that's what you do. And that's how you build out these agents anyways, where, okay, what's the task? Okay, go this way. No, it's more complicated, go that way. That's all they did. That's exactly what they did. They just built out something that I guarantee a lot of you could build out with some vibe coding. That's probably what you could do. But I think that's enough with this article. I wanted to touch on it in case you've seen it. It's kind of an interesting thing. And then the next thing I want to get to is the top 50 mistakes, because that's a longer article, and I want to make sure we have time to talk about that one as well. So here we go. And you can't see that quite yet. I want to make sure you can actually see it. Here we go. There we go. I'll help build and sell. Let's see. I'll help build and sell companies worth many millions. Here are the top 50 mistakes I've seen kill startups. All right. That was kind of interesting. That's why I want to go through this. So try to clear some of the screen space so you can see. Thanks. Thinking you have all the answers. That's good. Ignoring the impact of compounding, that's an interesting thing. How making little bitty steps can have significant impacts over time. I think that's a really good one. Disregarding the law of funnels. That's great. Any action of a user or customer needs to take is considered the top of a conversion funnel. The goal is to get them to the bottom. I talked about funnels somewhat recently, and we'll be releasing something, probably announcing over the conference that's got funnels in it. So I'll say what comes to that. Hiring based on experience. So I think that's an interesting thing. And I think that this is right. That sounds crazy at first, but you want to hire the right people. Okay. Focusing on the right people, then experience. I think that's important. Focusing on scaling too early. That's it. Yeah. So this is an interesting diagram about really plateauing. That's kind of an interesting thing. Wearing too many hats. I think a lot of people know about that. Comparing your work in progress to others' finished work. Big problem in the legal space. Trying to resolve unbounded problems. To be solved effectively and efficiently, problems must be segmented and bounded. First, split your intractable problems into small, digestible challenges with a single goal in mind for each. Second, ensure that their solution is bounded to a finite solution space. Not realizing this is almost always a recipe for wasted resources and disappointing outcomes. being frightened of incumbents. That's interesting. You see that a lot of times with lawyers. Oh, the new person's coming into town. Oh my gosh, they're awful. Yada yada yada. I'm fearing the pivot. That's a good one. Where sometimes you have to pivot. Sometimes things aren't working the way you want them to, and you gotta pivot. So yeah, very good. All right, so I want to get to. Like I said, I've got to get done a little bit early today because I've got we got a quarterly meeting today. So what I do want to do is I want to get to my last topic, and that is the Charlie Kirk assassination. So like I said, I'm not this isn't going to be political. That's not something I ever do on the show, but I'm just part of this is just something over the last week. I kind of had to pull myself out of a hole because one, it was just a really shocking thing to see a human being murdered in that way. And so that was odd. It was in front of millions of people, realizing that his daughters and his wife had seen it. They saw it happen was a shocking thing. The fact that someone would do that over someone's speech was shocking enough. But what really just bothered me as a human was seeing how people reacted. That's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the reaction part of it and the humanity part of it and how it really worries me as a profession, because I saw a lot of lawyers react in a way that I never thought was ever possible. And it really made me think about a lot of things I've observed over the last few years when it comes to litigation and how I've seen people treat each other and how I've seen people become very vicious. I think it's a really scary thing because it's interesting. You saw people celebrating the death of this person, and you saw people criticizing his faith, so talking about Christians in a negative light. And it was really interesting because the things that they were celebrating could have been just as easily applied to your neighbor, could have applied to anybody, could apply to me. And it really is bothersome. And I highly doubt it's something that would have been said to a person if you were in the same room with them. And so the message is I would like to convey is just remember that we're all humans, and the vast majority of us are in that middle 80%. And there's a 10% on the far right and a 10% on the far left that have done a really good job of tearing us apart. And don't let it tear at your humanity, because it is something that once you go down a certain path, once you go far enough, I think it's kind of hard to come back from that. And so I really hope, there are some of you that this is going to go right through one ear and out the other. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the rest of us. Is really what I'm talking to. I'm not talking to those of you that think that a murder of a person in front of his wife and his kids was justified. I'm not talking to you. It doesn't apply to you. I really don't care if you. I don't care if you hear me or not. This more applies to the rest of you that do have a heart, you have a brain, and that you care about humanity in general. So I hope that you will, when interacting with people online and in person, when you're dealing with other attorneys, or you're dealing with vendors, or you're dealing with anybody, that you remember that you're actually dealing with a human being, that you're not dealing with someone that's just a bot. It's just not a computer program. These are real people, real lives with real families, and that I'm hoping that you will act accordingly, because the things I saw this last week I lost a lot of respect for a lot of people. I just did. People that I thought somewhat highly of or very highly of lost every ounce of respect I ever had. And so, as Facebook learned, as the line in Facebook that the internet's written in ink and not in pencil, just remember that the things you say online, you can't take them back. You've rung the bell. So I'm hoping that, and here's the thing, some of you may not have even meant it, but you know what? The people that see it, they feel it, and they think you meant it. So hopefully we can get better. That's what I'm hoping. So hopefully you stuck around for the end. It's one of those things where it's obviously I wouldn't want to have to talk about something like this, but it's something that I think I kind of needed to address. But I hope that we can get better from here. Hopefully, we can all start to interact better with each other. But hopefully you have a better week. Hopefully things get better for everyone. Hopefully that we all start to treat each other with respect. But hopefully enjoy the rest of your week. And leave me a comment if you agree, disagree, whatever. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. I hope you got something from this episode. And I will be seeing you later.
Our next mastermind in New York City is sold out. But don't worry, there's still time to get your tickets to the Mastermind and Max LawCon in Nashville in October. Max LawCon is 2 days of immersive learning, powerful insights, and meaningful connections, all designed to provide actionable strategies you'll take back to your firm and implement right away. No fluff, just real talk and tangible takeaways you can implement immediately. Go to maxlawevents.com for more details.
I deal with life different, make that limit squeeze. Went off for my style and identity.